You all set?
The red light's on.
The red light is on.
Welcome to the Broker Loaded Podcast, Episode 4. My name's Kurt Studley.
I'm Dan Grimes.
We're realtors. We talk about real estate on this podcast, the Broker Loaded Podcast. A couple of places you can find this podcast. Of course, if you're listening to this, you've already found it. But anyway, it's on YouTube, on our YouTube channel.
On YouTube channel, the Broker Loaded Podcast. Our Facebook page, the Broker Loaded Podcast.
It's all called the Broker Loaded Podcast.
That it is.
That's it.
And soon enough, when I'm given the instructions, we'll probably be able to listen to it on the radio while you're driving, doing your Christmas shopping, or on your way to the cottage.
On the interwebs.
On the interweb.
Yeah.
Yes.
A couple of things for those of you who like to watch this podcast instead of listen to it. We have a new addition to the studio, and it's the on-air sign. I really like this. The red on-air sign in between us here.
It was delivered by a Secret Santa. We still don't know who sent it to the front door.
So somebody sent you this on-air sign, this light-up sign, and it came to your front door, and you don't know who it is.
No, and I put it out there.
I saw your Facebook post, yeah.
Thanking whoever sent it, but they haven't owned up to it yet.
Nobody has claimed responsibility.
No, and we did have it checked. It's not ticking.
Right.
So
that's nice. Isn't
very
that nice?
Thank you very much for whoever sent it.
It's obviously, one of the thousands of people who are listening to this podcast on a weekly basis who knows you and knows what you're up to.
I can only assume it.
Right?
I hope so.
Anyway, I think the sign looks nice.
I think it looks great.
I'm quite happy about it. And it's a nice welcome addition to our studio.
That it is.
Here in the suburbs of Ottawa, Ontario.
No, we're downtown in a big studio, Kurt. Come on.
We're in the suburbs, people. That's exactly where we are. Yeah. The burbs.
The burbs.
Is where we sit.
Yes.
This is episode 4, and I'm going to title this 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home, because that's what we're going to talk about. But we're not going to talk about all 54 of them today. And there's a reason there's 54, because the man to my left, which would make him on the screen on the right, I guess, has written a book called 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home. A document. You're an author. This is incredible to me.
I have the copyright certificate from the country of Canada, as a matter of fact.
Is that right?
I did. I
Now,
received it.
When did you write this book?
About 15 years ago.
Wow.
Long time.
And I've recently gone through the entire thing, and so many of the things, if not all of them, apply to this day, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, just about everything in my decades in real estate, nothing's really changed. I mean, our marketing has changed, but the strategy or mistakes that buyers and sellers make, they're still as relevant today as they were 50 years ago.
Yeah, they apply in different ways, in different fashions, certainly over the years and over the decades, but still, these are important points that you should consider when you're considering buying a home. And we'll cover them over time. I mean, there's 54 of them. There's a lot that go with. A number of them are very, very important discussions to have. So we're going to work our way through them. But why is the number 54? Like, did you just at 54 you went, well, that's it, when you're writing this thing?
No. Well, we actually had originally there was about 103 of them. Some of them very repetitive.
Okay.
54 was just a combination, as it turned out, when we narrowed it right down.
Right.
And the editor narrowed it right down. Just happens to be a combination. It's a 5 and a 4 is significant in terms of luck.
Right.
And it just happened to turn out that way.
54.
So we had 54.
54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home is the name of the book. It is available. You kindly made it available to people. And we'd love for anybody who's interested in real estate to pick this up online. You can get it at DannyGrimes.com.
Yep.
That's DannyGrimes.com. Just go to Danny's website. It'll be there for you. I downloaded it onto my phone. I can read it at any time, which is, as a real estate agent, I'm glad you told me about this because obviously a lot of it made sense to me. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, this is full value. These items, 54 items that you've outlined.
Well, yeah, most of them. I think they're all relevant. I think it breaks down into three categories: residential sales or single-family homes, freeholds, condos, and buying a new home. There's a lot to consider when buying a new home, in particular when you're buying off a site plan
Right.
in a trailer
Right.
in the middle of a 150-acre field.
Right.
So we cover that pretty much in detail, I would think. I think all the tips there are significant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As you mentioned, the list was at one time a whole lot longer, but we're going to try and knock it down into stages. And I think right off the bat, item number one, to me, when we bounced around ideas about how to present these 54 mistakes and these 54 things to avoid when you're buying a home. And we were bouncing around with the numbers. But, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, let's go kind of in order as much as possible. Because I think there's, right at the outset, with your number one mistake to avoid when buying a home, at the top of the list, the first thing you wrote about, is relevant in so many ways today. Give me an idea of what number one is.
Don't wait, start planning. Maybe not, and depending on the market, that wasn't as relevant 20 years ago or 15 years ago, but certainly today, you don't want to be entering the market like we've had in the last 2 years and go out and start looking at homes without doing any of the steps really to qualify to buy a home.
Now, the reason it's so relevant right now is because of the different types of market we've been in the last few years, and what effects have influenced that. First of all, in the Ottawa market, it completely changed really at some point, and it's hard to pinpoint what that date was, but it really started changing and changing quickly.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the competitive nature, it probably really started taking a swing about 2.5 years ago. We were doing a bit of catch up with other larger markets across Canada in terms of market value and market appreciation. And then, of course, COVID arrived, made viewing homes much more difficult. It kind of got people's, call it their blood pressure up, their anxiety up. Not as many homes on the market as there normally is. Again, COVID, a lot of people decided not to buy. We touched on that last week where people just didn't feel comfortable putting their home on the market and having people come through their home at the beginning of COVID.
So, don't wait, start planning is item number one.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you talk about and a lot of what falls into that category is one, first of all, getting your financial house in order. And it's super important right now. Super important if you want to be successful, especially as a first-time buyer. In this marketplace.
Well, your finance. I've always said this about financing and qualifying. With hardly any exceptions, people when they go online and they fill out one of the online applications, either with their bank or they go in, they see their mortgage broker. They're always surprised at the amount of mortgage or the amount of home they've been qualified to buy. And I do touch on it, one of the other mistakes down the road, but I'll move it up into this conversation now. You'll often hear that people they come out and they qualify for an $800,000 home, and they're shocked because they're looking in a $500,000 range. But when you qualify for a home, Kurt, it doesn't take into account lifestyle that you have.
No.
Do you like your case of beer? Do you like going to the odd Senators game, a concert? Do you want to go on vacation?
Right.
If you buy to the max of your qualification, you can very quickly become house poor.
Right.
And that's something that should be discussed with the mortgagee when you go in.
So lack of planning can send you down that path.
Lack of planning, high expectations, ego becomes involved in the buying process. We see that with a lot of younger first-time buyers.
Right.
you know, if they could just scale back maybe a bit and buy in a lower price threshold,
Right.
they're likely to get into that single family home sooner
Right.
rather than later.
You also have to understand what that lower price threshold is right now,
Well,
because it's that number has changed.
it's not that low.
No, it's not as low as it used to be.
No.
That's for sure, and
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
going to be.
No.
You know, those a lot of people will tell you involved in real estate that these prices are here to stay.
They're here to stay unless, I mean, in Canada, they're talking about the prime going up in the new year, certainly in the spring. Traditionally, when your interest rates start to rise, housing prices come down a little bit, but they're not going to come down significantly.
No, I wouldn't expect that at all.
No.
So, is in your mind,
Yep.
is the first step kind of self-assessing and then talking to a financial planner and then or your banker or someone you trust, someone you talk to about your finances? Is that step one of step one?
That would be step one, and that's going to be, in all likelihood, the first question that any realtor worth their salt is going to sit down and discuss with you.
Right.
Are you fine? Have you been pre-qualified?
Right.
And we can get into the difference between pre-qualifying and what a commitment is.
Yeah, because
Further down the road.
there are subtle differences and important differences in that, but we'll get specific with that later. So, self-assess and or talk to your financial advisor, let's say,
Sure.
right out of the gate.
That'd be the first step that I would recommend,
Right.
without a doubt.
But there's much more to planning to buy a home than just organizing your finances and making sure you're in a good position, right?
Well, there's many parts involved. The pieces all have to fit together, and one of the most important things is, you know, choosing the right realtor to work with.
That's part of your planning process, right?
That's important, man.
Yeah.
To me, it's right up there. I mean, after you've done your financial assessment, you've really had an honest discussion with yourself, if you happen to be a young couple or any couple buying, what sacrifices you may have to make in terms of lifestyle to move into the home that you really want.
Right.
And then the other, when you sit down with your realtor, and I always suggest interviewing more than one realtor. Many people meet them at an open house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, many people go shopping for realtors by going to open houses.
True.
Well, there aren't many open houses being done these days.
No, not at the current time, and that may turn out to be more the norm.
Yeah.
In the future, I think.
Yeah, and again, during the qualifying process, when you're sitting down with your realtor, they'll no doubt bring up your, you know, must-haves, your wants, your needs. Generally, people's expectations are much higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day when the glebe was really, really flourishing, buyers that wanted to move into the glebe, a lot of them weren't willing to sacrifice an ensuite bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not going to find an ensuite bathroom in any, you know, 100-year-old home or 80-year-old home in the glebe, unless it's been fully renovated and blown out.
Right.
So.
Right. Some of those renovated ones are beautiful. Well, some of the older ones are beautiful.
Yeah, I mean
love that old stuff.
The renovated, the infill ones.
Right.
Some of them are just gorgeous.
So, you know, interviewing several realtors is a good idea, and you need a good fit. You need a good match.
Oh, it has to be a good match, and you have to make sure you have to hold that realtor to accountability, and make sure that they're going to be looking for the homes in the areas that you want to buy in, and keep you posted on everything that's happening.
That's right.
And also sit down. We're all used as realtors. We're all used to doing CMAs, comparative market analysis. Call it an appraisal. It's not, but we'll call it that for this part. That's a common, I think, to evaluate a home.
Right.
It's nice to do an evaluation, and they're very easy to do. So if somebody wants to buy in a particular area in Toronto, well, then prepare a little CMA that you likely already have done on some other property over the course of your career. Just provide them with what's going on, update on what's going on in that area. We don't only use it to evaluate a home for a potential seller.
No. And in my mind, one of the things that at least I try to do, and certainly others I've talked to in this industry, is you want to provide knowledge for your client, for your buyer client. You want to impart the knowledge you've gained and the things you know to your client. So getting them to a point where they have a better understanding of the market and are not just buying a home per se. They're involved, they understand, so it helps them get what they want, right? The more you understand about the process and what's happening, the easier that translates into getting you to the point of getting the best for your dollar.
Absolutely. And it even makes the process easier with less anxiety for a buyer and the realtor. Mm-hmm. If you actually sit down with a buyer, let's use a first-time buyer, let's just say, who's just starting and learning right from, is there any reason why you wouldn't print off an agreement of purchase and sale that we use and just give it to them?
Exactly.
Send them home with it, have them look it over?
Exactly. Send them, you can send them a blank agreement of purchase and sale in a PDF so they can look at it.
Sure.
And then, you can go over it, ask questions, provide answers so you understand the document. It's an important document with a lot of information in it.
Yeah. And, many of the realtors, I always suggest they look outside their price range. Not necessarily, by making appointments through the realtor, but if you happen to see an open house, just go through it, because the more you can educate yourself on what homes and what the value as a home is in the area that you want to buy. If you're working very closely and keeping informed with your realtor, it will make you that much more confident when you submit an offer. You're going to submit the offer, not going in blind. You've been well educated. Mm-hmm. Your realtor's provided you with all the comparable recent sales in that particular neighborhood. Your realtor's had a discussion with you about your wants, needs, and must-haves. Mm-hmm. He or she's provided you with all the paperwork that you're going to have to be familiar with.
Mm-hmm. As well as familiarize your clients, your buyer clients. The job of the realtor, familiarize your clients with the current market, how it works, what you expect to happen, how things have generally been going, in which direction in recent times. So you really have to provide that sort of information too, and impart that information in a way that your client can grasp it and feel more confident.
Absolutely.
Feel ready to purchase a home, because especially first time, it is a huge commitment.
It's the biggest financial commitment that most people are going to make. And to have all of the information that can be possibly given to you, it's just common sense.
It is common sense.
And ask your realtor questions.
Yeah.
Just ask questions. What are you going to do for me? How much contact are we going to have? What's your availability? If a property comes up, especially in today, a market like today, now we've talked in the past, it's slowed down a bit.
A little bit.
But there's
time
still
of year and what's going on and all that sort of thing.
You're seeing a lot, not a lot, but we're getting away from the offers being presented 5 or 6 days down the road. I was online yesterday looking. There's a number of properties, including in very popular areas that we both live in, that the realtors have gotten used, and so have the buyers. If a new property comes on the market today and it says offers being presented 7 days from now, there's no rush. We have time to get hold of the client, to connect with that buyer, and strategize.
Right.
But if a new property comes out that meets your criteria today and it doesn't say offers presented in 7 days, you have to be in contact. You have to be available for your realtor to contact you and get you into that home. Could be over your lunch hour. I bought a lot of sandwiches over lunch hours where I've met my clients at the home.
Yeah.
Because it was a good property, met their criteria.
Right.
We had to be the first ones in.
So why wait in that circumstance?
Without that condition, sooner you see the property, sooner you can put an offer in, and the less chance of competing offers.
Exactly. At least you would potentially limit the number of competing offers, because there are still a lot of circumstances out there, and we're getting into sort of a market update, but there's still a lot of circumstances out there. I know there was a property I showed to a client last week, and offers were submitted yesterday. And the last time I looked, my client did not put an offer in, decided not to, on that particular property. The last time I got an update was 28 offers last night. So, there are circumstances where that still happens.
It will, but that's going to change over the course of time.
Right.
I mean, it'll change.
Mind you, the number one on your 54 mistakes to avoid when buying a home is be prepared, and that's part of that process.
Be prepared. And even in the case when it doesn't say offers presented 7 days down the road, if you go and see the property at noon and you want to put an offer in on it, we won't discuss this now, but there's strategies that you can use as a realtor. One of the main strategies in a situation like that is called the irrevocable time frame.
Yeah.
Go in strong.
Yeah. You've got to have a good plan like that. Now, listen. Yeah. We're talking about the 54 mistakes to avoid when buying a home. It is a book written by my partner here, Danny Grimes, which is available to you if you want to go to Danny's website, DannyGrimes.com. DannyGrimes.com. You can download that book, 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home. You could do it right now while you're listening to this podcast.
And I just want to clarify one thing.
What?
When you download the book, yes, of course, you have to include your email address. I don't believe you have to include your phone number. And it is not a lead capture for me.
That's not what we're doing.
It is a free giveaway. If you read the book, if you happen to like or feel comfortable or think you could be comfortable working with either one of us, then certainly reach out to me and we can get you going.
Exactly. But this is not, we're just giving you the book. It's not.
We're giving you the book. I'm not going to call you.
No.
You're not. I'm not. Please,
We're not
please,
going
please.
to email you
No.
and say, I noticed you downloaded Danny's book, 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home.
Love to help
talk. You won't hear that from either one of us. That's for sure. No. So, DannyGrimes.com. Just go to that website and download 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home. We touched on number one. Well, we had a discussion about number one. Don't wait, start planning. And hand in hand is number two. Don't wait until you've found a home to contact your bank or mortgage broker. Now, that's pretty commonsensical.
Yes,
but
I think we actually have covered that.
Yeah, but I think it's important to point out that shopping for a home is fun online, and then it's fun going out, and for a lot of people it's a good time. I really enjoy that process. That is, it brings joy to my heart, to be honest with you, when people see their faces light up when they see a beautiful home and so on. But you shouldn't be shopping for your home before you know where you sit.
Well, there's a one main reason for that too, your rate guarantee.
Yeah.
So the sooner you go about the process, and I've been informed there's a mortgagee out there that'll guarantee your rate for up to 6 months now.
Wow. A 6-month hold on a rate.
We're used to a 90-day.
Yeah.
Is that the average 90 days?
Yeah, it seems to me, yeah. Now, I mean, rates are ever changing these days. So, if you're currently sitting there going, hey, well, I am thinking about buying a home. And listen, don't delay.
No.
Talk to your financial planner, your financial advisor, your mortgage broker, your bank, whatever it is you like to deal with. And there are lots of options out there. Don't be afraid to shop around for not only rates, but your options when it comes to mortgages.
Yeah. And the
do it, and if you're considering buying a home in the near future, do it soon so you can lock in the lowest possible rate.
And it's kind of dummy proof, because let's just use the regular 90-day rate. If you happen to be with a mortgage broker or a banker, if you're coming up to that 90 days and you haven't found a home, it'll be defaulted in their system. They'll automatically renew the process for you, so you'll have another 90 days. In most cases, you won't have to call that bank or call the mortgage broker.
Yeah.
and say, hey, look, I'd like to do this over again so I can extend.
Yeah, and if your situation changes job-wise or credit-wise, or you make a major purchase, not a good idea if you're actually really considering a home, but you need to tell your mortgage advisor, your mortgage contact, the person you're dealing with when it comes to your mortgage, no matter where it is. You need to let them know a change in employment, all that sort of stuff, if it happens during the process, because it could change things for you, and it's very important to disclose those details.
It could change your circumstances, certainly.
In a big way.
And as, in fact, you recently found out, once you have put an offer in on a home and the deal's gone firm and you know where you're going to move, don't buy a new car.
Nope. I've seen it happen, and I've seen it happen recently where people have done that, and it changed their situation before they closed on their home, and it did not go well.
When you have a commitment from a financial institution, please remember, and you're not often told, they have a right up until the day of closing, the day before closing, to run another credit check on you.
Right.
And if you've firmed up on the deal and then decided to go out and buy a new home, or buy a new car, buy a motorcycle, add some expense, that'll affect that.
It will.
They can't pull the approval on you.
You get a bell for that one.
I think
Now,
so.
we're getting close to the half-hour mark on our podcast, the Broker Loaded Podcast. We're talking about Danny Grimes' book, 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home. We covered the first couple. Number 1, don't wait, start planning. Number 2, don't wait until you found a home to contact your mortgage or your bank or mortgage broker. Number 3 and 4 and 5 all go hand in hand with this. Matter of fact, 6 does as well. Number 3 is do your homework when shopping for a mortgage. We just kind of talked about that. Again, don't think shopping around for the right mortgage person, the right mortgage, the right bank, the whatever. Don't think that's a bad idea, because it never is. Right? You have options out there, and you need to explore those options.
Absolutely. Just one thing of note, if you're shopping around at different banks and you give that financial institution the authority to do a credit check or a credit app on you, every bank, when they do a credit app, will see that you've also had a credit app done with the Royal Bank, CIBC, Scotiabank, so they know you're shopping.
Yeah, so be selective, but by shopping, I mean explore your options.
Options. You
don't sign on the dotted line till you're comfortable with
absolutely not
going with one outfit.
Absolutely not.
Number 4, we've touched on, don't exceed your financial limits. Number 5, we've certainly talked about, don't wait to contact a realtor. They have lots of information. They have lots of contacts in various parts of the industry, financial included, that they can give you options as to people to talk to.
Absolutely.
Right? To get you started on the path if you're not, not already active when it comes to exploring your options, when it comes to a mortgage and so on, whatever it is, your realtor has lots of information, valuable information that they can share with you to help you on your way. So that's number 5. Don't wait to contact a realtor. Number 6 is choose the right realtor for you. We're going to get into that in more detail in the future.
That's important. That's important.
Yeah. And maybe we'll stop at 6, because then we're when we get to number 7 and so on, we're talking in more detail about the relationship between clients and realtors, and how important that is, and representation and so on.
Different types of representation.
Yeah, and it can be very detailed. We are planning in 2022. Hard to believe, it's December, man. Like, what happened, Danny?
It went.
Where did it go?
What? It went.
Right, we're in the December. It's like winter. Anyway, in the new year, 2022 is coming up.
Yep.
We are planning to do buyer seminars at various points during the year. Certainly in the springtime is traditionally a time when, that's very relevant.
Yeah.
And we'd like to do that. We do plan on doing that so we can go over these 54 mistakes to avoid when buying a home. But again, I go back to, what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast. the fact that you wrote this book 15 years ago.
It's a Reader's Digest size book, by the way.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
not a novelist.
No, you're
It's
not
an
gonna,
easy read.
Yeah, and it's I downloaded it on my phone, and it's great reference material. It's something you can kind of spin through.
Yeah.
A lot of it is common sense, but so is real estate.
Yeah.
When you boil
Well,
it
it's
down.
supposed to be a simple process. And it really is a simple process, nothing to get intimidated about. Just a little comment about the buyer seminars. We did run them pre-COVID. They were very popular. We do limit them to 12 people. We like to be hands-on. Most of the seminars that you may see advertised, agents have gotten away from them. It's a cattle call. Get as many people in as they can.
Right.
Feed you full of donuts and coffee somewhere late at night. We're not running them like that.
No, that's not what we're here to do.
You will be served a breakfast.
Oh, you get a breakfast.
You get a breakfast. We'll find a mortgage broker that'll flip for the breakfast.
Love a good breakfast.
And it's hands-on. We limit it to 12 people because when you go through a lot of the key points in the book or market updates that Kurt will be providing, you will have questions.
Yes.
And it's nice in that smaller classroom setting. Everybody's hands-on.
Exactly.
So it works.
In the meantime, if you want more information and download this book, it's easy to get. The book is called 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home. 54 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Home.
Yeah.
DannyGrimes.com is the website. Danny has made this book available to you free of charge, no strings attached. It's great information to have, and it's an easy thing to thumb through.
And we're not going to inundate you with emails and phone calls.
No.
If you like us, call us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're not going to hunt you down.
No.
This is the Broker Loaded Podcast. You can find it on our YouTube channel called The Broker Loaded Podcast. Also on our Facebook page called The Broker Loaded Podcast. Is it at the bottom of the screen?
The bottom
again?
of the screen right now,
You
the
like that,
BrokerLoaded
eh?
Podcast at
I
gmail.com
like that.
for any questions.
Yes. Now that we're into December, we're going to have
Yep.
some fun podcasts coming up to do
Yeah.
with Christmas, maybe a Christmas present that you'd like under a tree, so to speak. We'll talk about maybe cottages and that sort of thing.
I'd like to
coming
talk
up.
about cottages.
Yeah. That's a market that has exploded in recent years. There's no
We
question about
will. We're fortunate to live in our marketplace. The cottages are. We can shop in both provinces, and there are some great deals well under, hear me out, well under $200,000 on the Quebec side within 2 hours of Ottawa. I'm more familiar with Cottage Lakefront property there.
Yes.
Kurt, you have some good contacts on this side.
I do, and I've explored more and more of them in recent times. So we'll get into that. And listen, if you have a comment, you can go to our Facebook page. Right?
Absolutely.
You can also send us an email, right?
Send us an email.
TheBrokerLoadedPodcast@gmail.com.
BrokerLoadedPodcast@gmail.com.
We want to thank you very much for joining us on episode 4 of our podcast, the Broker Loaded Podcast. I'm Kurt Studley. That's Danny Grimes. Have yourself a great week, and we'll talk to you next time. See you, brother.
You don't want to talk about your bathroom renovation and how?